TikTok CEO, the TikTok CEO, we all know that Biden and all of our legislators decided that they wanted to sign as a part of the foreign aid bill. They added in there that they wanted to ban TikTok if it is not sold within the United States. If it's not sold within the United States, 9 months from now is when they want to ban TikTok. Now, the CEO released his own message, and he said, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it at all. And as a matter of fact, we're going to fight it. Let me bring y'all up to speed on what's happening out here on TikTok. Again, make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get to it.
It's going to make America safer.
This morning, the clock now ticking for TikTok to find a buyer or be banned in the U.S. after President Biden signed into law a foreign aid package that includes a provision forcing the sale of the Chinese-owned company in the next 9 months.
What up, DJ Ace? I'm going to read that shortly.
To fight back.
Make no mistake, this is a ban. A ban on TikTok and a ban on you and your voice. Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts.
And urging users to rally in support of TikTok.
I'm going to be really upset. Like, everyone is on here.
Any potential ban is likely years away as legal challenges play out. But even if a ban does go through, TikTok wouldn't suddenly disappear from phones. Instead, no new downloads or updates would be possible. Lawmakers who pushed for the bill to pass say the app must be sold from its Chinese parent company ByteDance to protect American users' data.
Through this process, have you learned anything about Americans' data on TikTok that does really concern you? Anything concrete?
Yes. Rivers of data are being collected and shared in ways that are not well aligned with American security interests.
FBI Director Christopher Wray telling Lester Holt that TikTok's parent company is beholden to the Chinese government.
We're talking about the ability to control or collect data on millions and millions of users and to use it for all sorts of influence operations like driving their AI efforts.
I flew all night.
So you came on a red eye?
Yes.
Other TikTok creators traveling to the Capitol from far and wide to demonstrate against the ban.
TikTok has given me every bit of voice that I have.
So as I mentioned, TikTok vows that they are taking this to court. They will argue this impedes users' free speech. Now, whichever side were to lose that battle would likely appeal to the Supreme Court, potentially setting up a years-long showdown.
So let me ask y'all a question before we deep dive into this. How much are you willing to sacrifice as far as your national security in order to make sure that you can still have your voice and say and do whatever it is that you want to do? Just curious. How much? And I don't really know where you stand or where to stand on this particular issue. And it's because I am a content creator. And I also understand that, well, let's put it all in perspective. First and foremost, most of these people that are complaining about TikTok going away, they're not making no money from it. They just want to continue to throw out all of their business and then have a bunch of people like them and follow them and hit the like button and all of that stuff, right? So less than 1%, less than 2% of content creators on all social media platforms are actually generating a significant amount of revenue to where they can quit their job or they can continue to move forward and being successful. That's just the facts. I know that it's the same as when people and all of these gamers was coming up and people were saying, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? And people was trying to justify to me the fact that they was 40 years old and still spending 9 hours a day playing video games while missing work. Now, there's nothing wrong with playing the video games, but when you start missing work, that's an issue. And people were trying to justify, man, there's people that make money on here that play video games, but you not. And you probably not ever going to do it. And that don't have nothing to do with whether or not you were supposed to be at work this morning. And so most of the people that are on these applications that are addicted to it are addicted to it, not necessarily because they're making money from it, but because they just like that particular application. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I do understand it from a content creator's perspective, right? I do. Shawnee says it's not about national security. Then what is it about? Because one of the reasons why they're forcing them to sell within 9 months, or the reason at least that they're giving us, and you tell me, am I off? Is it something else that I'm not familiar with? One of the reasons that they're telling us that they want to sell it is because they're saying, well, it is a national security issue, especially with regard to AI and them being able to train a lot of the ways in which they do things based off of the information and the data that they're able to source from ByteDance, with it being a Chinese company. How can you say that it's not, and what will be the incentive for them to ban it? That's my question. Because this got bipartisan support. This got bipartisan support. I would have you to know that if you go over there, if you go over to China, I don't know if you guys ever studied it. I have never been to China in particular. I was looking to go to China for a particular amount of time. I decided to change that once my sentiment towards that country soured. I don't know if you've ever actually studied China and how they go about censorship, but it is very much not a pro-American country at all. Manufacturers and American companies that choose to do business over in China, most times, especially automakers, have to partner with a Chinese company 50-50, and then they're saying that they probably steal a lot of their proprietary technology before they start to launch their own products and eventually push that American company out. That is something that has been complained about and stressed about for a long time, that the American companies that partner with Chinese companies often at time source their information, knowledge, and resources from American companies that are forced to partner with a Chinese company in order to even do business over there. And then eventually you get a BYD. BYD was not their own company. BYD rose from the ashes based off of technology and information that was given to them based off of the businesses that they had to partner with in order to even be able to exist over there in China. And so when you start to go into the politics and the policies, which is one of the reasons why Trump launched the trade war against China in the first place, because they felt like it was an imbalance between how Chinese companies benefited and how China benefited and how the United States of American companies benefited. It was too swayed on the other side. Now, what people don't know is that Biden actually supported the tariffs because he kept those tariffs in place once Trump left office. So the very thing that he advocated against and he championed and he jumped on all of these platforms and he was telling y'all how he was going to change things is the very thing that he still supported once he got into office. How do you know, especially considering that the United States of America is in a chip war with China and a currency war with China and proxy wars with China, especially with regard to what's going on over in Taiwan? How do you know that they're not leveraging and using your information because it is a Chinese-owned company that's able to source your data to do whatever it is that they want to do with it? How do we know? How do we know? Now, I'm not telling you that you should or you shouldn't. I'm not saying that I'm for or against. I'm sympathetic to content creators and people that love TikTok, even though it may not be a platform for me. But what I try to do is I try to put myself in the shoes of these people. And what I would advise you guys is that I would advise you guys to go about making sure that you're platform agnostic, meaning that you're not interdependent on one platform in order for you to continue to be successful as a content creator. Check it out. Let's continue to deep dive into this.
Another big story tonight. What next for TikTok? Is it really going to be banned here in the United States?
Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman is here with the very latest. Scott.
Well, Audrey and Raj, the House, the Senate, now the president have all signed off on TikTok either being sold by its Chinese owner ByteDance or being banned here. Many users tell us they understand the concerns people have about the platform, but say losing it would hurt their business.
So people don't really care. Let me tell you something about people. Nobody cares until it affects them. That's a fact. And I don't blame them. Nobody cares about your business or what's going on with your business until it affects them. Nobody cares. Man, they'll sell your security. They'll throw your stuff over the ground. They'll sell everything that they'll sell their left nut over to China in order to continue to maintain what they got going on over there.
Y'all, these food prices?
Denaja Reese is a TikTok content creator. She says if the platform goes away, it will likely affect her bottom line.
Is there money on the line here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's money on the line in numerous ways.
We don't walk away from our allies.
But President Biden signing a bill forcing TikTok's Chinese owner to sell or face a U.S. ban starts the clock ticking towards the end of what Denasia calls a boost to her career as a marketing professional.
And what's great about TikTok is that you can put out your expertise and experience in a way that just kind of goes straight to consumer and whoever your target audience is.
170 million Americans use TikTok, but the app is owned by a Chinese company, and that has U.S. politicians nervous about the data it collects, who that data goes to, and the messages it sends out.
Everyone seems to think in Congress that that this poses a threat to our national security.
Enough of a threat, even some TikTok users are concerned.
When I talk to some of my students, they actually share some of these same concerns that their peers are starting to believe conspiracy theories and information that is clearly false.
For its part, TikTok is not going away without a fight. The company's CEO spoke today on the platform.
Rest assured, we aren't going anywhere. We are confident and we will keep fighting for your rights in the courts.
Okay, Scott, so TikTok CEO sounds pretty confident that the app will be sticking around. But how likely is it that it's actually going to survive this legislation?
It's interesting because the legislation comes down pretty hard, Audrey, but they do have 9 months to try to come up with a deal, either to fight this in court and say, hey, it violates our First Amendment rights, or to try to come up with some sort of a money changing hands kind of deal where ByteDance somehow spins off TikTok to an American owner, keeps perhaps enough shares so that it can get enriched if there is some sort of an IPO. There's a lot of money to be had in TikTok. It's been very successful. The Chinese government, how much of a role do they play? We don't know. But ByteDance does not want to give this up. America does not want people to stay and give their data to a Chinese company. So they're really at loggerheads, but there is at least 9 months to try to come up with some sort of a.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. I think that over a period of time, this is probably going to be one of the more entertaining court battles and fights that we see happening. When you have bipartisan support and agreement across GOP and Democrats, then you can pretty much kiss it goodbye unless you have some kind of compromise. And as he said, it all comes back down to the money because they haven't even IPO'd. And IPOing is where the real money is. Forget the advertising money. Going public and getting that big payday, that's where all of the money is. So I will definitely stay informed and keep you guys up to date on what's happening out here in these streets, man, because I want you guys to get to the money, and I do not want you fumbling the bag or thinking that the bag is not going to be yours because of what's happening over here with your legislators, all right?